that took place not only here in Glendale but across the valley. Nearly 4 dozen cases were committed by these suspects, and what makes it even more interesting is the average age of the suspects is 15 years old. So we will be releasing some information following this press conference. With that, I'm going to bring up Officer Moroni Mendez, who will go over the details and answer any questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Moroni Mendez. I'm an officer with the Glendale Police Department. I am the Public Information Officer. My first name is M-O-R-O-N-I, last name M-E-N-D-E-Z. So that we know of, the Glendale Police Department knows of multiple thefts, multiple burglaries committed by a group of teenagers. That we know it happened between June of this year all the way up until August. Approximately 46 cases are known between Glendale and the Phoenix Police Department. And we do know that it is possible that they are also tied to other cases from other agencies across the valley. Detectives started making excellent progress after an incident that occurred on July 16th, 2024. So on July 16th at about 2:30 a.m. in the area of 59th Avenue and Deer Valley Road, a group of teenagers arrived in the neighborhood in a silver BMW sedan. That we know there was 3 male suspects that were hooded, wearing gloves, and began walking around the neighborhood. They approached a home that had a vehicle in the driveway, forced entry into this vehicle by breaking the window, grabbing the garage door opener, and then using said garage door opener to enter the garage. Once they were in the garage, they began stealing multiple items belonging to the victims. This, of course, all happened while the victims were inside the home, sleeping. Same night, 3 a.m., just 30 minutes later, in the area of 75th Avenue and Utopia Road, the same group of teenagers arrived to a different neighborhood, broke into another vehicle on a driveway, took the garage door remote, opened the garage, entered the garage, and then through the garage entered the home. Once in the home, they walked around looking for items to take, stole them, and left. Again, this happened while the victims were inside sleeping. 4 a.m., this happened in Phoenix, in the area of 7th Avenue and Bell Road. Same exact scenario. The same group of teenagers arrived to this neighborhood, broke into a vehicle on the driveway, took the garage remote, opened the garage, entered the home, and again, took some items. All happening while the family was inside sleeping. Again, as I mentioned earlier, these suspects were driving a silver BMW sedan. It was later learned that it was reported stolen out of Phoenix. The Glendale Real-Time Crime Center was able to assist this investigation and was able to capture a license plate. Once this license plate was obtained, our detectives catapulted this investigation and began moving rather quickly. The stolen vehicle was located and many hours of surveillance commenced after this. Search warrants were authored and served at multiple locations, and it was after all this investigative work that multiple arrests were made. On August 14th, 2024, there was an arrest of 5 teenagers, 4 of which were tied to our Glendale cases. It's a 14-year-old male, a 15-year-old male, a 15-year-old female, and a 16-year-old male. That same day, moments later, Phoenix PD arrested a 15-year-old male tied to these crimes. All of these teenagers are facing a combination of the following charges: residential burglary, a felony; theft of means of transportation, felony; unlawful use of means of transportation, felony; misconduct involving weapons, felony; minors in possession of firearms, felony; possession of narcotic drugs, felony; driving with a suspended license, misdemeanor; and criminal speed, misdemeanor. These teens are also facing additional charges by the appropriate investigating agency. As I stated earlier, they are also believed to be tied to multiple other crimes in other jurisdictions. I want to take the time to note that this was a collaborative effort, not only within the Glendale Police Department, but with other agencies. This is an example of excellent police work. Our detective was able to call upon his resources and get all the units and squads available within the Glendale Police Department to make this investigation happen, to make these arrests happen. We would like to give credit to the Phoenix Police Department Black Mountain Precinct Net Squad, which was beneficial and extremely helpful in this investigation, as well as the Surprise Police Department. At this time, I will move on to a few safety tips that I'd like to cover. As we know, this all happened when these families were sleeping. You know, families that are trusting that they're going to be safe in their own neighborhood, within the walls of their own home. So first and foremost, I'd like to bring up that some of these crimes happen because they're crimes of opportunity. And what I mean by that is that a criminal, a suspect, a person committing these acts is looking for something easy to do. If you leave your vehicle unsecured, well, guess what? They're going to open the door and get inside, either take your belongings, or worse in this case, grab your garage door opener and enter your home. So our advice to everyone is secure your vehicles. Not only that, but don't leave any valuables inside the vehicles that are open to be viewed by anyone walking by. Bring your garage door opener inside. This morning I was on Amazon researching possibilities on how to bring your garage door opener inside, and I saw that there are cases that can be attached to your keychain. Not only that, but garages also have a lockout feature. So when you're inside, you can lock out your garage, making the remote inoperable for the time you decide to do so. Garage doors are quite advanced now. They have apps that you can use your phone to lock them and close them. And then obviously lock your door leading from the garage into the home. Invest in video surveillance. In this case, we will be releasing some video that was obtained. One of the cameras was a Furbo camera, which is actually a pet camera. So think outside the box. You know, some of these cameras can assist in these investigations. Look into adequate lighting for your home. And lastly, develop a routine. Conduct checks to make sure all your doors and windows are locked. I can now open it up to any questions.
What kind of items were they stealing?
They were stealing multiple items. We know that firearms were stolen, as well as electronics like Xboxes and desktop gaming computers.
What's known to you guys, did any of the families wake up and see these kids inside the homes?
We know at one home a dog was actually able to scare off the suspects and scare them away. And I don't know if it's the same home or separate home, but we do have video of one of the victims actually running out, what I believe to be scared. I mean, I'd be scared in that situation as well. And she's seeking help and she's seeking assistance.
How did you guys first learn of this? Were these victims calling 911?
So it all really took off after the July 16th incident, where they were involved in multiple burglaries that same night. Once the families became aware, obviously they called police department and their corresponding agencies or jurisdictions. That's when our patrol officers, who did an excellent job, showed up. You know, were able to look at the video cameras from their homes and tie all this stuff together. And then obviously this investigation is then forwarded to detectives who have a lot more resources and training and skills to conduct these investigations.
Were these kids involved with a gang or some other group, or is it just them together doing this?
Well, that's a great question. As of right now, we don't know if they're tied or related to some sort of gang group, but we do know they're organized, and we do know that it appears that the same suspects are committing, you know, these string of robberies or burglaries. So we're not ruling anything out. Anything is possible. Our detectives are going to conduct thorough and complete investigations, and if that is a factor, then obviously that would be further investigated.
Do you anticipate additional arrests? Any other teams involved, do you think?
Absolutely. We know that the Phoenix Police Department had arrested 2 other teen suspects prior to our arrest on August, and you know, we're going to keep looking into this. You know, that we know of, this happened between June and August of this year. It's almost certain that there's probably more incidents that have occurred.
You said in your press release that you're hoping to identify possibly more victims. What should people do if they think they were a victim from this particular group?
Come forward, share the information that makes our job easier, efficient, and helps our detectives conduct these investigations and close them out. If it wasn't for the victims coming forward and sharing video, sharing the details that they have, our detectives and the patrol officers and everyone involved wouldn't have able to have been so successful in this case. We can only do as much as we can with whatever information we have.
With the search warrant, were you able to find some of the stolen property?
Yes, yeah. An Xbox was recovered, a stolen gun was recovered. There was a couple stolen vehicles involved as well. And the evidence was processed and would eventually be returned to the victims.
So stolen vehicles, they may have gone in the house, gotten some keys, and then took off with victim's vehicle in some cases?
Yeah, in some cases.
Do we know what they were planning on doing with these stolen items? Were they planning on selling them or kind of holding on to them?
That's a great question. In one of the interviews, one of the suspects had told us that, yes, he did in fact he would sell these items to make money for a profit.
The fact that they're going into homes where people are sleeping, I mean, obviously this could have escalated into serious violence if there was some sort of confrontation, right?
Yes, and it's a very frightening to think of, you know. Just picture it happening to you as a homeowner. You're asleep, you have family, you have your belongings, a lot of things that you've worked hard for. And a complete stranger coming into your house and trying to disrupt that, trying to take your belongings, your items, and you know, I forgot to mention, and I'm glad you bring that point up, these suspects were armed. So you could begin to imagine what kind of things could have happened and how far this could have escalated.
Do we know if any of the suspects arrested went to local high schools? Can you tell us where they went to school or not?
I wouldn't be able to release that information. You know, it's personal information. You know, suspects do have rights. Yeah.
Do you know if they're going to be charged as adults, or we don't know, or what's their status now?
I'm sorry, what was that one?
As far as whether or not they might be charged as adults, or is it going to go through the court process now, or they're being booked as juveniles?
Yeah. Mhm.
When you talk about them being an organized group, are they being trained by someone, do you know? Or are they kind of just getting together after school and saying, this is what we're going to do tonight?
It seems that some of them have learned from experience as far as their training or their background into becoming involved in these types of incidents. We don't know, but we would obviously look into that and try to figure that out.
So just to make sure that I also understand, like as far as them being armed, is that from the first instance of this happening? Do you have like a clear timeline? And secondly, like, you know, were the weapons that they were using in these break-ins, right? Like, were they the ones that were stolen? Were they bringing in their own weapons? Was it a mixture?
We believe it's a mixture of all of what you just mentioned. You know, they're stealing firearms. They might be selling them. They might be keeping them. They are carrying them on their person for, as one suspect stated, for protection. Protection from who? Well, from the victim.
How were they breaking into the cars? Were the car doors left open? Would you talk about that?
That happened in some instances, and that's why I mentioned that sometimes these are crimes of opportunity where people, I'm forgetful sometimes, you know, you forget to lock your front door, the door of your vehicle, you just forget things. It's human nature. So that happened in some instances, but in most of these, they were actually breaking into these vehicles. They would scope them out, look inside, and see if they can find a garage door opener, which, I mean, I have one, and most people have them on their sun visor.
Were they particularly targeting cars that were left on driveways?
Correct, because you can easily walk up, just like a mailman would, look inside. It's happening at nighttime, so they have their flashlights looking inside and trying to see what's for the taking and what they can use to their advantage.
Just real quick, of the 46 cases, anything else stand out as far as timing? Were they mostly on the weekends, or would they sometimes break in during the week, or between midnight and 3 a.m. and Friday and Saturday nights, or was there any kind of pattern as far as when they would strike?
It appears that most of these incidents were happening late into the night. You know, all the incidents that happened on July 16th happened after midnight. And that's really the only pattern that I can think of at this time. We can look more into that and provide that information at a later time for you.
Just thinking about their age, you know, how does that strike you, that the, you know, teens as young as they are going out and committing crimes like this?
It's alarming. It's alarming that they're this young and committing these very serious crimes. It's hard to point a finger and determine what is causing this to happen, what is causing for these teenagers to commit said acts. It could stem from a home, it could stem from trauma, it could stem from all sorts of different things, but we cannot identify it. We would certainly look into it, but it's alarming and it's sad.
And, you know, as Officer Mendez mentioned, again, these were very brazen acts involving these individuals. One of the individuals did say he was armed each and every time that he entered the home, and he was going to protect himself. So if somebody woke up, people to please come forward if you know anything or you feel like you're involved in any way, shape, or form. Once we wrap up here, the video that we are releasing, you will hear some of the confessions that these teenagers did indeed make. There's video of them breaking into the vehicles as well as entering the home. We are releasing the surveillance of the pet camera where you can see the individuals walking around while people are asleep inside with their flashlights. So again, we're thankful for the coverage that you guys are providing. We're hopeful that we can get even more individuals off the street and potentially find some answers for some victims.
Of the 46 cases, I guess, a combination of Glendale and Phoenix, or majority in Glendale, or a little both?
It's really a little bit of both. And we'll be releasing the Form 4s, but again, because they're juveniles, their names will be redacted, but they're pretty detailed as to how they came about doing all these acts.
One more question. Were the stolen items returned back to the families?
Right now, they're evidence, so. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.